So let's go ahead and come to a comfortable seat today. If you know that you tend to be a little tighter, and especially on a Saturday morning, or just in the morning in general, our bodies feel a little more congested, things are a little tighter. So I really recommend sitting up on a bolster or a blanket, and that's just gonna give you a little more release in that pelvic girdle. For a lot of us, the groin gets really tight. And so what starts to happen is that the knees come up above the hips, and it's just not comfortable to sit like this. So literally take as much height as you need to so that the hips are more in line, or the knees are more in line with the hips as opposed to being above them. And then maybe just kind of rock back and forth here on the sit bones. Just noticing, putting your brain down there, just noticing how it feels when that sit bone hits into the earth, and then just start to move a little smaller. And then I want you to find the center of that sit bone, and maybe you also need to rock forward and back a little bit so you can find the directionality of the sit bones going that way. And then find that center spot. And as we sit here, you want to feel those shoulders landing over your sit bones. As you root down into those sit bones, you start to get that lengthening through the sides of your waist. And before we just sit quietly here, let's roll the shoulders back. Again, this can be, it feels pretty good first thing in the morning. It feels good any time of day, but there might be a little extra right now. And then start to roll forward. Notice how that shifts where you're getting sensation in your body. Good, and then back again. Just allowing those shoulder blades to release down your spine here. Hands can be on thighs, they can be resting by the side of your body. So wherever feels good, you might even have a hand on heart, hand on belly to begin. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. And then do that a couple more times. Your eyes are probably closed at this stage of the game. If they're not, go ahead and close them. And maybe anything that's kicking around in the mind today, see if you can just exhale that out, let it go. So really giving yourself permission to be here on your yoga mat for the next hour, and more specifically, to be paying attention to your body and to your breath and to your headspace. So giving yourself permission to have a little break. Good. And then from here, we start to find that rhythm of our Ujjayi breath. So just another layer that helps us to focus and quiet. So you're going to be finding that nice inhale through your nose. And then also exhaling through your nose. So you're creating this soft rush of air in the back of the throat. Has a little bit of that Darth Vader sound. It's that sensation that you get when you're fogging a mirror with your breath. So there's a little bit of effort to it. There's definitely a sound to it. So get curious about it. So soaking up this breath, but as you're doing this, do a little scan of your body. So as we sit here, unbeknownst to ourselves, tension starts to creep into the body. That usually happens in the shoulders. They start to creep up around the ears. That tightens the back of the neck. So release them down again if that started to happen. And then often we start to hold in the inner thigh. So we tense that groin, especially in this posture. So obviously there's a sense of work here. But there's also places where we're releasing. So we're not trying to do more than we need to in this seat. So make any little adjustments. And just another moment here. So sometimes it can actually be quite challenging to sit quietly like this. We like to be doing things, moving in a direction. So if that's coming up for you, just smile at yourself. Do your best. Maybe you can just find a pocket that is simply a second or two of this stillness. You just keep coming back to that. And as we practice this, as we get better, we start to thread more of those moments together. You can keep your eyes closed here. As you inhale, start to reach your arms up overhead. So let's keep them about shoulder distance apart, maybe even a little wider if you're tighter in those shoulders. And then we're gonna take a nice forward fold here. So again, this first one of the day can be really tight. So as you exhale, you start to hinge forward. You're gonna be feeling a nice stretch on the hip of the shin that is crossed in front. So you might even find that having hands on blocks is really good here. If you're more flexible, this of course is going to be a little easier in your body. If it's super easy, I want you to feel those outer hips squeeze in more. So get the muscles involved a little more. And then you could be resting your head on a block. You could make fists with your hands, stack them on top of each other, rest your head there. And then find those sit bones again, root down there. Maybe as you press into those sit bones, you can find a little more lengthening through the sides of your waist. Coming back to your breath. And then a little twist here. So peek, see the shin that's crossed in front. You're gonna walk your hands in that direction. Doesn't have to be very deep here. And then start to spin those opposite ribs down. So a little twist and just let the neck release. So it might even feel like you're rounding a little bit in your spine right now. That's fine. Good, start to walk back to center. As you inhale, roll on up to center, and then you might need to peek to see what shin is crossed in front. For some reason, that's hard to feel with eyes closed. Extend legs, maybe give them a little shake out, and then we recross with the left shin in front. Good. So let's just start to rock around in the hips here. So hands can be on knees or thighs. And really exaggerate this movement. I love to get the shoulders involved. You might get to a place in your body where you're feeling this great stretch and you want to hang out, linger for a moment. Maybe even let your neck release, be really gentle about that. And then we start to change directions. And it's all right if you're losing that ujjayi a little bit here. We'll come back to it. Let's start to make those circles smaller. And then come back to center. Just a few breaths here, eyes closed, rooting into sit bones, getting nice and still, nice and quiet, finding that spot again. Maybe you're dropping in there a little quicker. You can keep your eyes closed. Inhale, arms reach up. Imagine that somebody is gently pulling up on your wrists, giving you a little more length. Hold on to all of that as you hinge forward at your waist. Folding in. So again, a stretch comes to that hip, that outer hip of the shin that is crossed in front, can be really, really intense first thing. So hands on blocks if you need to. It's fine if you're pretty upright. So you just go to that spot where you're getting the stretch. If you tend to be a little more flexible, you're feeling those outer hips squeeze in towards each other, so you're muscularly engaging, and that should give you a little more stretch as well as a little more support in the pose. Good, and then you're gonna start to walk your hands in that opposite direction, so you're finding your twist here. Doesn't have to be very deep. Wrapping those opposite ribs, and of course you're walking your hands in the direction of the knee of the shin that is crossed in front. That was a mouthful that I just said. Hopefully you followed along. Listen to your breath here. So we've dipped into that Ujjayi again, that inhale through the nose, that exhale through the nose. Good, start to walk back to center. Inhale, roll up. And before we make our way to our tabletop, let's just do some shoulder shrugs here. So kind of feels really good in the neck and in the shoulders. And this is something that you can do just every day, especially when you're sitting at your computer at your desk doing work. If you can just pause and do this a time or two, it's gonna help to bring a little release into this area that gets really tight. So you can just release your hands by your side as you inhale. Squeeze your shoulders up, and you can make scrunchy looks with your face. So bring a lot of tension there and sigh the breath out. Let it go. Inhale, clench everything, and feel that sigh of relief as you exhale, let it go. Couple more. And let's do one more little thing here. So we're gonna take our right arm, we're gonna cross it in front. You can hold with your hand, you might be able to hook with your elbow. Notice if that right shoulder pops up, release it down. Notice if you've started to rock to the front of your sit bones, so you're overarching in your lumbar, kind of throwing the chest forward. Soften those ribs, front ribs towards the back ribs. So many little things always going on. And then you're just gently squeezing that arm in. And it's this nice stretch, this outer arm area. You might be feeling it in some other places too. Good. Deep inhale. As you exhale, release. And then we take that second side. So left arm comes in front. It might feel a little different. So you're either holding with the hand, you can hook elbows. A lot of this has to do with the flexibility in our body, how we're built. So one way is not better than the other. And this side might look different than the other side. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose. Just feeling this nice stretch. Shoulder blades are still releasing down your spine. Good, deep inhale. And then as you exhale, release, flip onto your tabletop. So landing with shoulders over your wrists, fingers spreading a lot, pressing evenly. So that's really nice to help support and stretch out the wrists. Feels a little awkward. But go ahead and just go for it, overdo it. Knees underneath your hips. And then again, here we can really start to arch into the lower back a lot. So we want that. We're going to be coming into that pose, but starting out, spine is nice and flat. So there is this sense of belly button pulling towards those back ribs. And then we start to move here. So finding this sense of rhythm. As you inhale, arch, shoulder heads are pressing back. As you exhale, you press them out away. You really round in, let the back of your neck lengthen and hang. Inhaling, arching. Exhaling, rounding. So your eyes might be open. If they are, your gaze is just slightly in front of you. It's soft, it's gentle, so it's relaxing. You're not focusing on anything. And your eyes might also be closed here, which I always think is really nice. Anytime we close the eyes, we can get inside the body a little more. Looks great, Erin. And then maybe notice how there is this little pause at the top of the breath and at the bottom of the breath. Spine is looking good too, Pamela. So in that pause, it is this complete stillness, and it's fleeting, but soak it up. Enjoy that. Couple more rounds here. Just noticing how the spine is already giving way a little bit. You're feeling a little more length, a little more ease. You might not be there yet too. That's also okay. As you inhale, you're gonna come back to a neutral spine. Have a blanket or a block handy. We're gonna come into a nice little shoulder neck stretch here. So we are gonna root down into that right palm. I'm gonna do this from the front here. So gaze slightly forward, lower belly is pulling in and up. Just take your left arm off to the side. And then actually let's just lift a little bit on the inhale. Exhale, release. Inhale, and maybe you start to roll those right ribs up towards the ceiling. Exhale, release. I'm doing the opposite of you guys. I'm not mirroring you right now. Inhale up. Exhale, lower. One more. Inhale up. Exhale here. We're going to thread the eye of the needle. So you're going to take that left arm underneath your right. And this is where you might need a block, a pillow for your head. So you're laying down on that left ear. And it can be really, really intense. You're rolling your left ribs up towards the ceiling. Let's start to walk those right fingertips forward. So it's like you're coming into a downward dog, and actually get up on your fingertips. I start to get this nice stretch on the inseam of the arm. And then as you exhale, start to slide left arm off to the side. Feel shoulder blades release down back. So you might make a little physical movement there. And then you could just stay here like this. This might be pretty intense on that left shoulder, the side of the neck. If you want to open up that right arm, so wrist lands above the shoulder, and maybe you lean it back a little bit. So really work at spinning those left ribs up towards the ceiling. Perhaps you spin your palm to face behind you. So externally rotate. And just doing that, I'm getting a great stretch on the inseam of the arm. Maybe you bend the elbow, grab a piece of shirt, lower left waist. Maybe you can get those fingertips underneath your, or to the inside of your left thigh. And then you get a little leverage to press that right shoulder head back. Breath smooth and steady, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose. Always coming back to that. We lose it. Good. Inhale, stretch. Right fingertips up if you took that variation. And then as you exhale, you unwind. Couple rounds of cat-cow to let that go. A little palate cleanser. Inhale up to neutral, and we take that little sequence to the second side. So we are going to root down into our left palm this time. So gaze slightly forward. Inhale, lift that right arm up. So fingertips are perpendicular with that shoulder. Full exhale here. And then inhale, open up a little bit. This is kind of a little twist. Exhale. Inhale, continue to really root down into that left palm. Fingers are spreading, pressing evenly. Exhale, release. Inhale, open up. Exhale, lower. So we're moving towards those triangle pose arms. We're not quite there. One more. Exhale, release. Inhale, open up. Just finding this connection of movement with breath. And then exhale. You're reaching here. Press down into that left palm and then thread the needle. This side might feel a lot different. So you lower on to this right shoulder. Shoulder, head might rest on a block. So really listen to your body. You can be resting on that right ear. Let me get this out of the way here. And just take a couple breaths like this, and you're paying attention. How does this side feel different? So you're not trying to change anything, but you're just aware of what's going on in your body. I think this is one of the most beautiful aspects of our yoga practice. And then we start to stretch that left arm forward. So it's as though you're coming into downward dog. Spread the fingers and then come up on to the fingertips. It's like you have a little gecko hand, and you might feel a good little stretch on the armpit area. Then already you're starting to roll those right ribs up towards the ceiling a little bit. Good, and then start to slide that left hand so it's perpendicular with that left shoulder. You could just stay here like this if you're getting that great stretch in the right tricep, inner left arm. Maybe you start to reach those left fingertips up. So wrist stacking on top of that shoulder to start. You could pause here. So there's all these places to stop and take pictures if you need to. If you're ready to move on down the road, you start to spin that right palm behind you. You are externally rotating. So you're turning your thumb outward. Bend the elbow, grab a piece of shirt. Maybe get those fingertips to the inside of that left thigh. So a lot of that has to do with shoulder flexibility. A lot of it has to do with how we are anatomically built. So if it's not happening, it's no big deal. Wherever you're at, you're just getting a little leverage to lean that left shoulder head back. And you're breathing, and you're sending that breath to the spots that are tight. Good, inhale, stretch. Left fingertips up. As you exhale, you unwind here. Aww. So let's exhale, press the mat away. Hold here, so you're getting that cat stretch. So big lift in your upper spine, and then let the back of your neck release, which is so tricky to do, but really let it hang. Imagine that there's a weight on it. Oh, this looks good. Pulling your head closer to the mat. And then inhale, move in the opposite direction. And you just hold here, so you continue to breathe, but we get that big, deep arch in the lumbar. Feel your shoulder heads press back. So we've warmed up the shoulders and neck a nice amount. So feel that sternum pop through the gates of your shoulders. Feel your elbows squeeze in a little bit, even though the arms are straight, that idea. Good, and then exhale, just come to a neutral spine. You're neither arching nor rounding. Walk your hands forward a couple of inches. Spread fingers. Keep the belly lifted. We're gonna shift our shoulders slightly ahead of the wrists. Gaze is forward. The only thing that changes here is that we bend our elbows, and that might be 1 inch. It might be 2. It's no more than shoulder heads in line with elbows. So we don't wanna dump down here. This is actually a pose, but we're not going for it. Gaze is forward, breath is smooth and steady. So this is a little mini push-up, but it's a lot of work. There's nothing mini about it. Smile. Notice if you're starting to clench your face, your jaw. And then lower on down. Lengthen back through all 10 toes. Quick little shoulder stretch here. Interlacing your fingers at the small of your back. Rolling to the outer edges of your feet. Come down to your forehead, moving with the breath. Inhale, drag knuckles towards heels, head and chest lift. If this isn't happening for tightness, as you exhale, you lower down, reaching fingers by side, spreading them, or you could hold on to a strap here as well. And moving with the breath. So inhale, you're rolling up. Exhale, you lower down. If you are a little more flexible in the shoulders, you're really squeezing the palms in towards each other. Inhale, roll on up here, hold. Roll a little bit more to the outer edges of the feet. That helps to turn the inner thighs on. And then if you are interlaced here, stay lifted, but change the interlacing of your fingers. So your palms are still facing towards each other. You're just shifting everything over one. If you have your strap or if you're releasing hands, you stay there. Exhale, lower. Inhale up. Good. Exhale, lower down. Inhale up. Exhale, lower. So just warming up the spine here, strengthening the spine. Inhaling up, holding. Okay, so release. Take arms to the side like airplane wings. Let's have our palms facing down for now, and you can spread the fingers. Keep the back of the neck nice and long, and then we bend the elbows. So fingertips underneath shoulder heads. Here we are in our Bhujangasana, low cobra. So we're not pressing down into the hands here to get this lift. We're generating the work from our lower back. Breath, smooth and steady. And then from here, press to your tabletop. Curl your toes under for the first downward facing dog. And all of the dogs in the room are probably gonna come into this pose now and show you how it's actually done. Just ignore those show-off dogs. Take a moment here, pedal back and forth between your feet. Find any movement that you need to. Kind of play around in your body, see what's going on. Some days it can just feel really good to come to a place of stillness right away. Nice work. So as you kind of get all of those fidgets out of the way, you do eventually come to a place of stillness. As you let your neck lengthen and hold, you're just gazing between your feet, which are about hips distance apart with your second toe pointing forward. Good, and then we're gonna start to walk our hands back to meet our feet. Little standing cobra here. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward, fingers could be on the floor. Better still, hands on shins or thighs so you can get that beautiful L shape. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Shoulder blades are squeezing in, arches are lifting in your feet. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press down into your feet, stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart and we start to move here. Maybe close your eyes. Inhaling, reaching, take up lots of space. As you exhale, you fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press down into your feet. Take arms out wide, gaze up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Maybe peek down, make sure that you're not gripping your toes. You could even lift them up off the mat, spread the toes, and then gently place them down. Inhale, stretch up, Utthita Hastasana into Tadasana. As you exhale, you hinge forward, fold in. Inhaling, lengthening. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press down, rise up. Exhale, hands come together at your heart. You have two more, just moving with your breath. So let these feel really good. There's no rush. In fact, stretch them out. Really key into that rhythm of your breath. Using it to breathe space into your body. Finding this sense of ease, this sense of grace in your body. Good. When you're done with that second round, palms together at your heart, eyes closed, just checking in, noticing how you're feeling here. So it might feel like you're standing a little taller. Hopefully it feels that way. Maybe the head is starting to quiet down a little bit. So as we start to flow, for a lot of us, it has this moving meditation quality, which is really lovely. All right, so you're at the back of your mat. As you inhale, arms reach up. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. So you're looking towards the top of your mat. Put the weight in your heels, really feel the heels pressing down nice and slow. Start to walk forward to your downward dog. Keep those heels pressing back as long as you can. They're gonna lift up at some point. That's fine. Good. And then a couple breaths here in the downward dog again. So second one, how has it shifted already? Always noticing these things. Making any little adjustments. So second toe points forward, fingers spreading a lot. It feels awkward. And then you're pressing evenly into all 10 knuckles. You're gonna feel those upper arms turn on. Inhale, shift forward, plank pose. Lower to knees. Hover chaturanga as you exhale. And then onto your belly. Inhale, low cobra, elbows squeeze into the midline. Exhale, pull back, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, use your belly to help step that foot through. You might have to use your hand to pick up that foot and move it. It's actually not an easy pose. And then you might grab your blocks here really quick. Okay, so you can slide that left knee back. So we're getting that stretch on the front of that hip flexor. As we inhale, we rock back to that half split. Exhale forward. Inhaling back. Good, exhale forward. Beautiful, nice, Erin. Inhaling back. Let's exhale forward, hold here a few breaths. You might need to slide that back knee a little further back if you're a little more flexible. You might need to take your blocks a little higher. So big muscles attaching here. And they're pretty tight for all of us. So use props, bring the floor closer if you need to. There is no shame in that. In fact, it's a very smart move. And then the same thing here as we pull back to our Ardha Hanumanasana, those half splits. Maybe if you're a little tighter, you walk the blocks back with you so the wrists are more underneath the shoulders. Conversely, if you're a little more flexible, you can start to fold over that front leg. You can flex those toes a lot. I do want you to keep a little lift of your sternum up towards the ceiling. So we always want a little of that back bend sensation in the upper spine when we're doing these forward folds. And if your hamstrings are really tight, lower back is really tight, a little bend in that right knee is nice. All right, so let's start to upright ourselves. Again, as you inhale, find your low cobra. So lengthening through the sides of your waist. Good, maybe you press palms, gaze up. Ooh, and then maybe you fall out like I do. Believe it or not, this is actually a balance pose. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. Curl those left toes under, and then let's slide back. Downward facing dog. Deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth. Sigh the breath out. Let it go. Ha. Inhale, left leg lifts. As you exhale, use your belly to help step that foot through. Slide that right knee back. So exhale, melting in here. Feel that stretch on the right hip flexor. Inhale, slide back. Half splits. Exhaling, melting in. Inhaling back. So just finding this nice little flow sequence, this simple vinyasa. So we tend to almost think of vinyasa as being that push-up, that plank. Yeah, that's a vinyasa. It's not the only one going. So anytime we're connecting movement with breath, we're finding this. So as you exhale into that hip flexor stretch, hang out there, maybe slide that back knee back a little bit if you're more flexible. Back out if you need to. You could always pad up that back knee too. I didn't mention that on the other side, but this can be really intense for us to have the knee on the floor. Breath smooth and steady. That inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose. Okay, so we're gonna start to slide our hips back into that half splits. You're drawing left hip back, right hip forward. If you're more flexible, you're pointing these left toes up towards the ceiling, maybe forward folding. And if you're tighter, you don't need to go as far to get that really amazing stretch. So you might be pretty high on your blocks. That's absolutely fine. You might have a bend in this knee, kind of might be letting that foot relax. So we're all at different stages with our body. Be good with where you're at. We're all pretty lucky to be doing this on a Saturday morning. All right, so we're gonna come forward again, and we're gonna find that little crescent lunge. So direct tailbone down, stretch sternum up, reach arms out and up. If you're really unsteady, walk that left foot off to the left. And then maybe you start to bring your gaze up. Press your palms together. As you exhale, hands are gonna come down to the mat. Curl right toes under, step back, downward dog. Nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. And then little bend in your knees, come to your tippy toes, gaze where you're going. So you're either gonna walk your feet forward between your hands, or you're gonna step right foot, then left foot. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press down into your feet, stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Good. So, little pause before we do another little flow sequence. Grab a strap if you have one, and if you don't, you could grab like a towel or a scarf. So we're gonna do some shoulder humblers here. So, typically wider is a little better. And you're gonna see why in a second here. First, find your nice Tadasana. So ankles landing underneath your hips. You might even be standing a little wider. Tailbone is releasing down, sternum is reaching up. Nice makeshift prop, Erin. As you inhale, you lift up. And this is the part that's tricky. As you exhale, you might have to go a little wider. And you're gonna feel that intense stretch in the front of that shoulder. Inhale up. Exhale, lower. So as you're doing this, really pay attention. And if you do have your camera on, you can kind of peek. It's good feedback. So what tends to happen here sometimes is one side, as we're coming back, lowers. So you want to try to keep really even. Again, maybe you need to sneak out on your strap. Good work, Pamela. So this is a good one to do, if not daily, maybe every other day. You could keep a little yoga strap at your desk. Just take a little intermission at some point throughout the day. You could do this pose seated. Couple more. And as you warm up that shoulder girdle, maybe you can sneak the hands in like a 1/2 centimeter more. Maybe not. This one can be really intense. Good. So we finish up with a strap in front. And then let's take the strap over our right shoulder. And then just give the arms a shake out. Maybe even shake the neck a little bit. So I don't know about you, but I'm kind of feeling the blood come back into the arms after that. So let's do one more little shoulder stretch here. So we're going to come into our cow face arms, our Gomukhasana arms, or a variation. So inhale, reach your fingertips up. So my palm is spinning in towards my cheek. So palm is facing to the left. So we're getting internal rotation. I want you to see if you could spin so much that it's almost like that palm is going to face behind you. And you could even take your left hand to help wrap that arm in. Internal rotation in this top arm. Start to bend those fingertips. I'm going to give you the back view here. Okay, so depending upon how you're built, you might just take Your right hand, I'm sorry, yes, your right hand on top of that. Right, okay. Left hand on top of that elbow. I'm not mirroring you right now. And then you're gonna feel that stretch through the outseam of the arm, which is really intense. A few of us are gonna go ahead and reach left palm off to the side, externally rotate. So again, you're spinning the palm to face behind you, but this arm is going the opposite direction. I like to come down nice and slow at an angle. I get a great stretch on the front of the shoulder. Bend the elbow, and then this is where you can grab the strap. You're pressing this left shoulder head back as you try to continue rolling that right arm in, and you lift that elbow up towards the ceiling. If you're a little more flexible in the shoulders, you can interlace fingertips. And you're breathing that inhale through the nose, that exhale through the nose. So this can be really intense. And again, we can start to puff the front ribs out, stick the booty out. We don't want that. We want that core containment. Tailbone releases down, sternum reaches up. Couple more breaths. Oh, this is not easy. All right, so reach right fingertips up, left fingertips down, and then arms come parallel, wrists parallel to shoulders. Flex the wrists up towards the ceiling. Big stretch just doing this. So avoid the urge to let those shoulders creep up around the ears. You're softening them down. Deep inhale. And then as you exhale, release. So that second side. So any variation of this. So start to reach, left arm up. Your palm is facing towards the right, but I want you to start spinning it to the right so much that it feels like it's facing behind you. It might actually be doing that. And then if you want that little extra, you can use that right hand to help roll inward. The key is to try to hold on to that as you bend the elbow. Tricky to do. So you might be here like this, gently pressing down on that elbow with your right hand. That can be plenty. If you want to go a little further, start to extend. Right fingertips out perpendicular to that shoulder. And then you're going to start to angle the thumb down so the palm is spinning behind you. And then again, I like to go nice and slow at an angle. I get this immense stretch. I'm actually feeling a stretch in the thumb too as I do this, which is really nice, in a hurt so good kind of a way. And then you bend that elbow, walk the hands up any amount. So strap is great. You might get fingertips. Right shoulder head presses back. It's like doing a back bend as your left elbow reaches up towards the ceiling and you try to spin that outer arm into your cheek. Standing nice and tall, release your tailbone down. Feel your sternum lift, belly is engaged. Breath, smooth and steady. All right, so we're gonna start to release here. So left fingertips reach up, right fingertips reach down. And then let's make fists with our hands this time. Circle around in the wrist. And it feels good, I think, to go really nice and slow. You can, again, pause if you're getting a good stretch, maybe when the wrists are facing down. Oof. And then switch directions. It's like you can feel the accumulation of all of the typing at the keyboard and the wrists on a Saturday morning. So let it go. Good. Let's release here. All right. So grab a block. You're going to place it to the right edge of your mat. We're going to stand wide here. So it can be nice to be on the mat, especially if you're on a hard surface. So nice, generous stance. From deep within this right hip socket, we're going to turn that leg out to 90 degrees. And then left toes are going to turn in. So we're getting hip opening in this front leg. This left hip is releasing down. So what tends to happen sometimes is we try to square the hips in this pose. Not going for that. Just opening up this front hip, letting this left hip release down. Inhale, arms reach. Good. And we're going to just find a little flow here. So as you exhale, start to bend into that right knee. And you can see how my knee is tracking over my ankle. I'm gonna give myself a little more distance. Inhale, press to the inner edge of that right foot. Extend arms up and over. Exhale in. Good. Inhale up. Really sealing into the back edge of that left foot. Good. Inhale up. Exhale, coming in for the hold. Bring your gaze out over those right fingertips. Sink in. Don't be shy. You're going to feel the stretch. And you're imagining that you have a wall behind this right knee. You're just pressing that knee into it. Good. And then we're going to flow a little bit into our reverse warrior. So legs stay exactly like this. As you inhale, top arm comes up and over. Exhale, back to warrior two. Inhale, reverse. Good. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, warrior two. And then inhale, holding the reverse warrior a few breaths. You're spinning these left ribs up towards the ceiling, right ribs up towards the ceiling. Maybe gazing up underneath that top arm if it feels okay in your neck. Good. Inhale up, warrior two. I know the legs are feeling it. Stick with it. Okay, so as we exhale, elbow to that front knee or fingertips to the block, top arm up and over. Inhale up. A little harder here. Exhale, Parsvakonasana. Inhale up. Exhale in. Good. Inhale up. And then coming into the hold here. So that elbow can be on the knee. You could have fingertips on the block. That's nice. You can start to press this knee into your upper right arm. And then we're rolling the right ribs up towards the ceiling, maybe gazing up underneath that top arm. Put your brain in that back foot. Sometimes it feels good to scoot that back foot in a little bit here. Mine keeps sliding off my mat. Breathing. Parsvakonasana is a doozy of a pose. Nice little hip opener though. Inhale. Good, come to your warrior two. Exhale, sink a little deeper. And then inhale, press into that front leg. Good, parallel your feet. Or give the arms a break. And then just move that block to the other side. If you used it for your Parsvakonasana, if you just had elbow on knee, you can leave the block where it's at. Okay, from deep within that hip socket, turn that leg out. Right toes turn in. Our left heel is intersecting our right arch here. So hips are at an angle. They're not squaring, so don't force that. Inhale, arms reach. Good. As we exhale, sink in, warrior two. Inhale, up and over with the arms. Exhale, in, inhale. It's not really an up and over, it's just an up. Exhale in, one more. Inhale up, so just warming up the joints here. And then as we exhale, we come into our warrior two. Give yourself a lot of space. So most of us go too narrow with the stance. Gaze soft and gentle out over those left fingertips. So keep the legs exactly like this. Even though they're working hard, it's so good for you. You are strong. Inhale, nice gentle reverse. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, up into your reverse warrior, finding this beautiful flow. Exhale. Inhale. And then exhale here. One more for the hold. Inhale. Reverse the warrior. So you want to be nice and light with those right fingertips, especially if the hand is on your knee. You're wrapping these right ribs up, spinning that back palm to face behind you. We found that action a lot today. Maybe you're bringing your gaze up underneath that top arm if it feels okay. Lower belly pulling in and up. Good. Inhale here, warrior two. Take an exhale. One more inhale, and then our Parsvakonasana. So as you exhale, legs stay the same, hinge forward at that left waist. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 2. And this is really hard and cruel because you're feeling it in the leg here. Would almost be easier to start with this one, but stick with it. Smile a little. Enjoy that burn. Good, one more. I might have given you an extra on this side. Forgive me. All right, so elbow on knee. Again, you might have fingertips on that block, which is nice because then you can start to press this left knee into this upper left arm. You might have fingertips on the earth. You start to spin left ribs up towards the ceiling as you seal into the back edge of your right foot, maybe gazing up and underneath that arm. Good, strong, strong legs. Inhale up, Virabhadrasana 2. Sink in on your exhale. Oh, inhale, press leg 2 straight. Parallel your feet. All right, step feet together. And we are gonna come into a hip opener here. And I'm gonna give you options. So if you know that you like your single pigeon pose, you can approach that from your downward facing dog. So like so. This isn't for everybody. So your other option would be to come back in to that forward fold that we took at the beginning of class, Sukhasana. If you're a little more open, you could stack shins here. The final option, which is really nice, and then of course you're folding in. Final option is to come onto your back, crossing right ankle above your left knee. So this is like a little reclining pigeon. And don't think that it's cheating. You still get a really lovely stretch. You can take right hand into that right thigh, gently press forward. And then maybe you start to hug your left knee in, and then you can interlace fingers around that shin or thigh. So if you're rolling up off the mat, maybe just be here. You could also take some blankets underneath your head. So should you be in your single pigeon right now, oftentimes what happens here is that right hip starts to lift up off the mat because there's a lot of tension there. So you could slide a blanket underneath that sit bone, but try to direct both sit bones down towards the mat nice and even. And then you're also lengthening back through that left leg. So essentially, it is in your cobra pose. And then you can be on forearms here. As we hold this a few more breaths, you might be able to melt in a little deeper, but keep directing left hip down even with right. If you are in your double pigeon pose, make sure that you feel that anchoring sensation down into your sit bones, and then that helps you find the length as you are folding in. In single pigeon or in double pigeon, you could be making fists with your hands, so you're resting your forehead on something or resting on a block, which is really nice. And then check in with your breath again. So you can start to let go of that Ujjayi breath. You're inhaling and exhaling through your nose, but you're starting to stretch it out. You're starting to quiet it down. And then we're going to inhale, slowly roll on up. So if you're in your single pigeon, you can get in or out, however feels good. Sometimes it feels really nice to do a downward dog after that, kind of open up that right hip. If you are in your double pigeon, you just change the cross of your legs. And of course, if you're on your back, release legs down if you took that variation. And then you take left ankle above right knee, flex that foot. And you can do that in any of these poses. It's actually a really good suggestion, especially single pigeon. We flex the foot of the leg that is in front, so that left leg, that engages the muscles around the knee. So we want this to go into the hips, not the knee. So if you're feeling any sensation there, back out a little bit. Maybe use some props. And then notice too how this side feels different in your body. So especially hip stretches, there is often one side that feels like a lot different. That is par for the course. I think a lot of it, for many of us, it can be that right leg that is tighter. And I think a lot of that can actually come from driving, since we're using that leg is doing the bulk of the work. It's in that extension. Of course, that isn't always true. So you're getting curious about your own body, noticing what's going on. And then if your attention has wandered at all, come back to that sound of your breath. So using it to help you find space in the pose, especially sending it, the breath, the exhale, to those spots that are tight here. Because hips do get really tight, I think sometimes we actually start to grip more. So again, key into that idea of letting go of working where you don't need to be working. And that can take a long time to sort out and figure out. But as we pay attention to our body, we start to make those connections and we figure out how we can release muscles. I think it must be kind of like wiggling ears. Let's take a few more really good breaths here in this forward fold, or it's forward fold wherever you're at, even if you're on your back, but this nice deep hip stretch. Good, deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. So let's, again, make your way, if you're in your single pigeon, can feel really good to come into the downward dog after that to let it go. So we're gonna come into a final deep forward fold. If you're on your back, I want you to stay there. So you're gonna do a version of Paschimottanasana. So you're gonna extend the legs up, and a couple options here. You can press in on your thighs, or you can grab big toes and pull in. If you were in your single pigeon and you want to do this, it's kind of nice. The other option would be to do just your classic Paschimottanasana. And for those of us that are a little more flexible, block at the feet and then grabbing the edges of the block. So that's nice. It just gives you a little more support. It keeps those feet active and engaged. Or again, you can just be on your back here, which feels really nice. And you're getting that support of your spine because you are laying down. So this can be really intense, holding thighs, maybe even holding the backs of the legs, the calves, the lower leg. Good. And then if you are seated in your Paschimottanasana, as you inhale, slowly roll up. We're all going to make our way onto our backs here. Give the knees a squeeze into the chest. And begin to roll forward and back. If you feel like you need a quick little twist before you come into your Shavasana, you can do that. So just quick to each side, few breaths each side. Otherwise, if you're ready to come into your Shavasana, you start to move in that direction. So extending legs a little wider than hips distance apart, snuggling those shoulders underneath you so you feel that gentle lift of your chest up towards the ceiling. If this introduces any sensation into your lower back, you roll up a blanket, place it underneath your knees, or bend your knees, take feet as wide as your mat, and then just allow your knees to knock in towards each other. Take one deep inhale. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. Couple moments here just being nice and quiet and still, soaking up these final moments of our yoga practice. Shavasana. Take a deeper inhale. Sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. And then start to bring some movement back to your body. So wiggling fingers, wiggling toes, yawning, stretching. So anything that feels good. And then just using your hands or rolling to your right side rather, and hanging out there for just a breath or two. And then you'll use your hands to help you press up to a comfortable seat. So we started class here in Sukhasana. It should be feeling quite a bit different. So there should be a greater sense of ease as you sit here. This sense of lengthening through the spine, this openness across the heart and chest. And then notice also how your breath has shifted, how your headspace has shifted. So hopefully you're feeling a little quieter, a little more focused, calm, perhaps even a sense of joy. So send yourself love and gratitude for showing up and working hard. And promise yourself that you're going to carry this feeling with you into the rest of the day, the rest of the weekend ahead. Pile your palms on top of your heart and just bow your head with a smile. Thank you. Beautiful.